Welcome to Builds with Blocks, a show centered around the micro action figures and brick-based construction sets of the Halo universe. I'm your host, Colin Perkins, and I'm joined by Tom Fishenden.
There won't be a home if we don't stop the banished.
And Matt Salvatore.
No, you don't get to tell me what to do. How are we doing, guys?
Guys, the Pelican is no longer inbound. It is here.
Woohoo!
And we're ecstatic to talk about the opportunity, to have the opportunity to discuss the flagship set from the first wave of the Halo Infinite sets from Mega Construx. A huge thank you to the Mega Construx team for providing free samples to all three of us so that we can bring you our reviews, our analysis of this beautiful beast. Before we get into the main topic of the show, let's chat about what we've been up to on the block front. Matt, I'm going to start with you. What have you been doing lately?
Not too much. I basically...
You always say that, and then there's usually a lot.
Yeah, like 3 hours later. Oh, that's about it, guys. No, I just been working on my mock, and then I built a Pelican. So that's what I've been doing on the blog front.
Tell me about this mock. What is this thing?
It is the new and improved Halo Infinite mock. So I did an original one where I had one of the plateaus with an AA turret. This time I made it bigger, and I've added several plateaus, another AA gun, and a bunch of the new Infinite figures. So it was actually really fun to just kind of see these figures in something that look like the new Halo ring. So it just makes me so much more excited to play the game and feel that kind of open world aspect. So hopefully I'll be able to do a lot more stop motions with that. It's my 10-year Mega Construct set for new stop motion. So hopefully I can get some out there.
Your 10-year plan?
My 10-year plan.
I love it. Did you park the Pelican on that thing yet?
Well, yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. Just spoilers about the Pelican. It's massive, and I thought for sure, I'm like, oh yeah, this massive mock will be able to comfortably and snugly fit this Pelican. And I had it all planned out where the Pelican was going to be. Well, this Pelican is just massive, so I had to push out a couple of the plateaus, and I have to restructure it already just so I can fit the Pelican in there. So it's a beast, and it's so awesome seeing the Pelican interact in there, seeing it with like the AA turret, just like reminds me of that opening scene that we got for the gameplay demo.
That's right.
It's so awesome.
Looking forward to see what you do with that. Awesome. Tom, how about yourself?
Yeah, I've not really been doing as much as I would usually. So here in the UK, we're kind of hitting the rainy weather season now. So I think that I'm probably past the best days for toy photography, which does suck a little bit, but it is what it is.
So do you pack it in for the rest of the year then, or what?
Well, I've done something interesting this year. I just bought a brand new green screen. So for a while, I had a really, really cheap green screen that I literally just used when I do the Jurassic Park podcast, and I would like sit and use that as my backdrop. But I just invested in a proper newer one, which will go over the studio setup that I've got that you guys have seen. So it will basically replace where the white screen sits in that, and I'll have a green screen there. So I'm potentially gonna experiment with some green screen work in the future.
Nice.
And just see how that kind of works. I've sort of got an image in my head of the Pelican in space with Chief floating that I'd like to try at some point. So we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, it's a lot less practical, in my opinion, shooting with a green screen. I would always rather do something like practically outdoors, so maybe it won't be for me, but we'll just have to see how it goes. And then beyond that, I am buying some Mega Construx off of you at some point, Colin, and that's about it.
Yeah, we just got to sort out that list.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
I'm crushed to find out that you actually are not recording from Jurassic Park. And now I'm crushed.
Matt, I'm always at Jurassic Park, mate. If you listen really carefully, hold up a second. If you keep listening, what you'll hear is that actually there are dinosaurs all over this place right now. So I do actually have to be a little bit quiet because I don't want to disturb them.
Well, don't move. They can only see if you move.
All right, I will go quick. So the Pelican Inbound has been built. It took me a couple days because I don't have, I can't build during the day, even on the weekends. I got to wait till the tail end of the evening, and during either TV time or if my wife's working. But anyway, so it took me a few days to put this thing together. I did it over the course of I think 3 or 4 evenings. I finally got her done, a couple hours each time. So been building that, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. I did get my Alien Queen came in, and my Viseron came in. They are tucked away, ready to be built when I get inspired to do so. I mentioned a while ago that I was looking for that second 20-in-1 Scorpion.
Yeah.
And I found one for not a terrible price, and I ordered it. So it was above MSRP, but it wasn't the crazy price that I've seen out there. So I do have 2 now, so that means I can start building one of them. I'm excited about that.
Do you think they might rebrand the Scorpion in the Infinite kind of boxing and redistribute it?
I kind of hope so. I've been thinking about that. Same thing.
So Mega have said in the past on their forums that it's unlikely that they'd ever re-release a set. They always try to do new improvements on them or stuff like that if they're going to re-release it, so it's a different set. But with that said, I would love that because then I could get it, and I really want to get that set, but I missed the boat on buying it, so please rebrand it.
Yeah, I could see them using a similar build structure because you're going to need a Scorpion eventually in Halo Infinite. So maybe that's why the 20-in-1 didn't get wide distribution, and they'll come out with another one. I don't know. We'll find out.
Will that one have a chief with it as well?
Oh my goodness, we have so many chiefs.
No, this one will have a lock without helmet.
Just headless lock.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Locke.
A couple more things. What else did I do? I did get from Entertainment Earth. I rolled the dice and ordered a 3-pack of the Mega Construx heroes because I wanted to get Predator and Dutch. I separately, I think I talked about on the show, I got Raphael and Claptrap are the main two that I wanted, and I got those for MSRP. But then I haven't been able to find a Predator at Walmart or a Dutch at a Walmart, so I ordered the 3-pack just to see what would happen. I did get 3 different figures, which I was happy about, and I did get a Predator, so I am very happy about that. Didn't get Dutch, but I got Kratos and then another Claptrap, which I'm happy to have 2 of those.
Nice.
So that worked out okay. I wasn't sure if I was going to get randomly 3 of the same or if they actually took the time to give me 3 different figures. So I guess in the future, I'm wondering maybe if I buy 2 3-packs, then I'll get a full set. But, maybe I'll try that out for the next wave.
Yeah, that'd be a cool way of doing it.
Yeah, so because I did get Predator, I did find a decently priced Dutch in the 2-pack with Predator and Dutch. I did order those from Amazon.
Nice.
I actually had some credit on my credit card, some free money on my credit card, so with Amazon. So I did that. Couple other things. Man, I have a long list here. Sorry. I know we want to talk about the Pelican, but I just want to get this out. So I'll go 2 more things, and I'll go back to Halo. So I ordered the Masters of the Universe, a box of the Series 5. So it's got Fisto and Stinko in there. Those are the 2 new figures.
Yeah.
It's got the other ones included our new paint jobs, I think, on the other figures. I did get a new a Game of Thrones. I pre-ordered the Game of Thrones ship as a part of that same order. Those are both from Entertainment Earth, so hopefully I get those not too far down the road.
What's happening with the castle set out there at the moment? Have you had a chance to pre-order that anywhere?
I didn't. It looked like it was not until November, so
cool.
I'm waiting on that. Yeah.
That's an awesome looking set.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think that'll be a great addition too. And then the final thing I just want to mention back to Halo is I did the Master Chief helmets have finally hit targets, so they are out there. And by the time of this recording, hopefully most of you have it at the time. I built it last night. All I want to say, and I hope we'll have a focus show where we talk about this and a couple of other things that we haven't talked about yet. But the helmet, the color of the helmet is not the same color as this Pelican.
Oh, whoa.
Or the same. No. It's a little different color, which is kind of weird. It doesn't have the speckle in it, so I don't know if they removed the speckle or if it's a whole different color. But it's a little different color bricks. But it's a cool build.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a cool build. It's a nice piece. Hopefully they do. I heard somebody mention maybe they would do a helmet series based off the success of this, which would be awesome, I think.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. All right, so why don't we dive into the main topic of the show now that I got all that out of my chest? It's time to talk about the Pelican Inbound, coming in at a whopping 2,024 pieces. MSRP is $149.99 in the U.S. UK bucks are 125.
Pounds, Colin, pounds.
But you don't call them bucks in the UK?
No.
What is another term besides pounds?
Quid.
Yeah. 125 quid, 3 glorious figures, and an alternate build, which we will talk about on a separate show. Pelican Inbound is the 4th iteration of the iconic troop transport vehicle from the Halo universe, and we're excited to bring you our analysis and kind of go through. What we're going to do is we're going to go through like the build, and we're going to kind of talk top level first, and then we're actually going to take you through all of the steps. This thing is 500 steps in the instructions.
It's pretty involved.
Yeah, pretty involved. Very fun build, if you ask me. But yeah, why don't we get into it? I want to hear. Oh, so if you want to go find the instructions, you should be able to find those on Mega Construx website. Just Google Mega Construx Halo, and that'll pop up. You can find it in there and some other pictures and whatnot. By the time this is posted, there'll be reviews from us out there, unboxing, all that sort of fun stuff. So hopefully you've enjoyed that, and this will be your chance to kind of soak in all the additional info that we've gathered for you guys.
Put this one on while you're building your own Pelican.
Yeah. See if you agree. I like that. All right, let's talk. Go ahead.
Before we get into it, I do just want to say this is an awesome set, but it's not fully authentic because mine hasn't crashed yet.
You can do that. Maybe we'll do that at the end of the episode. We'll just all drop ours on the floor.
Oh no! I'll crash mine into my infinite mock.
Oh,
I like that.
When you're done with that thing, you should just throw it at it. See what happens.
I can't. Oh, I can't. I'd cringe.
How painful
so
would that
bad.
be?
Table just
It
implodes.
would be painful. It'd be like someone taking a hammer and smashing my foot.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, I couldn't. That's plastic abuse right there.
It is. It's true. Tom, why don't you
Colin,
take
we
us
need
through
to
the
have words.
experience of opening this thing and just kind of your thoughts on the overall size and the build? Let's just talk about, in general, our thoughts on Pelican Inbound.
Sure. So when it comes to sort of opening this thing up, I actually did an unboxing on it, and I make myself laugh every time when I watch it back because I knew what was in the box, and I still decided to just aggressively attack it with scissors, which in retrospect was not the smartest idea.
Are you a box saver?
No, but when it comes to reviews, obviously I like to have the box in good condition before I throw it away.
That's true.
I feel like that was a really hurtful sentence for some people who are collectors. They're like, he's got the box mint and he's throwing it away.
Right.
I save all the boxes. I think I have all of them minus a couple. So I still right now I'm looking at my original Warthog box.
I was going to say,
do you have like a warehouse where you store these in?
No, what I do is I usually just compress them. I fold them up and then I just stack them away.
You do break them down.
Yeah, I break them down, but I don't throw them away. Actually, most of them are still. I kind of use them for like art behind the set. So I put the set and then I put the box. Some I don't break down.
Nice.
I threw a ton away the other day from 2012.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sad.
Why?
But anyway, moving on to positives. So the box here really surprised me because obviously this is a 2,000 piece set. And yet the box is kind of like a happy middle ground between your traditional £100 set and your more premium Signature Series set. So it isn't quite a Signature Series box. It doesn't kind of open up in the way that a Signature Series box... Well, actually, no, that's a lie. It does open up in the way that a Signature Series box would, but it doesn't have like any of the artwork or anything inside it. It's just a generic box.
Well, it doesn't open. I don't have like the flaps and all that sort of stuff from the Signature Series.
I don't know how I did mine, but I managed to fold it open in a very similar way. So it like pulled from the bottom upwards.
must have did
and
it
then I
wrong.
saw all the bags.
I opened it. I opened mine from the side.
I was being very delicate, to be fair, because
Yeah.
obviously I nearly mucked it up in the unboxing.
Well,
Well, it
my
seems like
favorite
they're
part-
being more efficient with their boxing in general right now. So like they're cramming a ton more pieces in this for not
Yeah.
as much space in the box. Even the helmet that I mentioned, like that has almost 500 pieces in it, and the box is pretty manageable. It's a lot smaller than the skiff, which has a similar piece count.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, my favorite
definitely.
part of your unboxing video, Tom, is when the box kind of goes out of screen and you're kind of, it looks like you're having this fight with the box.
Yeah.
You're like, oh! Fighting your Halo Infinite Pelican in the background.
Yeah, that is exactly what happened. It attacked me, and I'm currently in very long proceedings with the set following that incident. That I
really?
can't talk about on air right now. But no, so overall thoughts of it, I was really impressed with this. And kind of when I finished it and I just sat back and took it in, I kind of had that, oh my God, holy moment where I kind of sat there and was just like spinning it around in my review station, looking at it from different angles and kind of thinking, oh my God, this looks exactly like it looks like in the game. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, for me personally, and I know there's people who are big fans of the Pelican and they'll perhaps be a little bit more strict with the dimensions. But for me, they've always done a really good job getting the profile nailed down with the builds of this vehicle in general.
Most definitely.
But this one just feels like it goes a step above and beyond. And there's like so many little details, and we'll get into them. But everything from like the profile of the way the tail sits, to the way the sort of landing gears sort of slightly tilt inwards. It just all feels incredibly authentic to the way this vehicle is portrayed in the game. And when you kind of finish it, you sit and look at it and just think, wow, that is a Pelican. And to kind of encapsulate this, I want to tell a fun story. I was in the office on Tuesday for our charity's annual general meeting, and because of that, my boss was in. And I talk to him now and then because he used to play Halo when he was a bit younger, and he kind of stopped with Halo 3, so he's not that familiar with it anymore. I showed him a picture of this build, and the second I showed him, he went, "That's a Pelican from Halo. That's awesome." And he then went, "I'm not normally jealous of your nerdy things, but this is one thing that I'm very jealous of." And I feel like that kind of summarizes how spot on this build is.
Yeah, I like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Man.
It was really cool. I was like, we've bonded.
Matt, what are your overall thoughts?
Well, I actually filmed me building this set, so I was able to do it. So you're probably watching it being constructed right now if you're watching this on YouTube. But I was able to build it in a little over 5 hours. And I stayed up till like 3 in the morning. So there's a part in the video where it looks like I'm getting a little slow. It's because I'm drinking lots of coffee in between. But I had a really awesome time building this. I want to say it, like I said in the beginning, I don't think I fully realized or understood the size of this set. And so as I was building it, and it's kind of this weird moment that when you're building something and you kind of look over at what you've built, and, as I'm building, I'm just kind of putting pieces together really quick. And then I look over and I see, I'm about halfway through the build, and I look over and I see just what I built. And I already look over and I go, this set is going to be massive.
Yeah.
And I was just, at that point, it all kind of took shape. I have to agree with Tom. The dimensions on it, the silhouette looks amazing on it. I am blown away by this set. I don't know. There's so much to it. So much detail and love was put into it. The best part about it is there's this little fire extinguisher. The detail is so amazing that I'm just like, oh, it's so cute.
Yeah.
But I love it. It's good stuff. I had a
Awesome.
great time building it. A lot of fun.
Tom, did you build it all in one go too?
I built it over a night and a morning. So I built until about 11 o'clock the night before. I then went to bed, woke up at 5 a.m. to Zoom some American friends, finished my Zoom session with them at about 7:30 in the morning, and just sat and built until about 1:00 lunchtime.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good. So yeah, my thoughts, echo what you guys have to say, and we'll get into all the details, but very happy with this. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to mention is that each of us right now, as we're recording, we all have one of the other Pelicans with us. So by my side, I have the NMPD Pelican to provide some comparison, and Matt has the OG Pelican, and then Tom has the gunship from Halo 4. So as conversation comes up, we can kind of be the points of contact and comparison for each version. And that's one thing that I guess where I wanted to take my overall thoughts is because I've built 2 Pelicans within the last month now. And the size, it's funny because the Signature Series, the NMPD Pelican, the set is like 17,000 pieces, but a big chunk of that is for the landing pad in the building. And so I would say, just looking at the two together, there's not as many pieces in the NMPD. I'm trying to figure out like what's the percentage. Is the other Pelican 50% bigger? Like it kind of feels like that because it's beefier. Like the chest on this thing is huge. But as we'll get into it, the interior is smaller, so it's weird when you have them both here and you kind of are messing around with the play features and whatnot. Well, it's interesting how the build differs, even though the other one the new one is so much bigger.
I would say the interior differs proportionately than the others. There's a portion of the interior of this Infinite Pelican that I would say is much bigger than any Pelican we've ever had. We'll get into it.
Okay.
I was about to say the exact same, Matt. Yeah. I was going to say, I kind of like how this now retrospectively makes the Police Pelican smaller, because I know it's not in the lore, but I kind of like the idea that maybe the police are using a less efficient version of the Pelican, because obviously it's like an older version that's been mothballed, and then you've got this Chad version of the Pelican, which is the version that the UNSC are using.
Yeah, I like that. The other thing that about the build is there's the detailing on both the interior and the exterior was a lot of fun to put together and see how that slowly unfolded, especially as you're doing the exterior, to see, okay, I like this, how they keep certain spots smooth, but they leave studs exposed elsewhere where you don't necessarily need that additional detail and whatnot. So there's the printed pieces are pretty fantastic, and the use of the UNSC and the logo itself. Other printed pieces like on the very under the wings, again we'll talk about it more, but are they missile shooters on the wings, like the printed pieces?
Archer missile pods.
Yeah. So
Archers
and the other
are
thing,
the ones that the Spirit fires.
Archers are from the Spirit. The other thing to notice is that there are quite a few pieces left over. After the build, so you can still do some either additional customization if you want, if you don't have this color, or you have spare parts for whatever reason. But they do give you quite a few leftover parts. And I know that from watching Brickman's alternate build review is that structure, that base. It almost looks like it uses half of the pieces. So this base, this set alone, if you just want a whole lot of pieces, grab this set. You're gonna get a lot of good and fun and useful pieces.
Well, as a traditional builder, whenever I know there's always sets that have a little extra pieces, but when I saw the pieces at the end of this, I immediately started flipping through the book and I'm like, okay, did I forget anything major? Because I'm like, I forgot a wing.
Right, yeah. You almost have enough to build another one. There's
I know,
quite a
I'm
few
like,
pieces.
Oh no, I messed up.
I'm actually sitting now and seeing if I can put something together with all these spare parts while we're recording the show.
I like it. You fiddle with that, and then at the end we'll take a picture of it.
Exactly, we'll put it on the show. There we go. It's gonna be some like mini Pelican. It's gonna be awesome.
All right, let's get into the figures themselves. since Tom is concentrating on something else, Matt, why don't you start with the figures? Just take us through your thoughts of. I mean, we finally have the pilot. Like it was fun because we've been recording the show since this set was revealed, and we discovered that they're gonna give us the pilot. We still don't have a name for the pilot, but like remember when we saw like his rolled up sleeves in the picture and whatnot, like all that had been revealed over the course of this past year. So it's been fun to finally have the pilot in our hands, and we have the chief, and now we have the banished hunter, the hunter in banished colors. So Matt, take us through these things.
Well, right now you are going to be watching a hunter assemble. So I did a quick little stop motion of the hunter assembling for the first time. So I just put it out of the bag and I assembled it. And the articulation on the figure, as I use it for stop motion, is much better than the hunters that I got from the Halo Heroes line. I think they come.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So the articulation is
it's
already
the same mold,
a lot,
right?
Yeah, same mold, but the articulation just felt so much stronger but more fluid. So I was able to do a quick little stop motion of this thing coming together. I love this hunter design, but I love the colors on it so much more. Nice little hints of red, not too much.
Yeah.
But I would say just the right amount. It is kind of neat to see a hunter's arm, the cannon arm, with the red crystals instead of the green. So that's kind of interesting. I can't wait to see that in game. What does this like scary red hunter look like when it's bearing down on you?
Yeah.
So
real quick, is this the fourth version of this mold that we've gotten?
The fourth color?
The fourth different new
We've
hunter?
Got I think it's either a prime or something else from Warzone in the Wasp.
The Wasp.
We got the red one in the Heroes wave. And then obviously the blue one in Warthog.
The two, yeah.
Yep, the Remnant Hunter is in the Hero Wave.
That's it, Matt.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I misspoke because I meant the hunters in the Warthog run. I haven't opened my Remnant Hunter. So when I said this one has better articulation, it has better articulation than the hunters in the Warthog run.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. Pilot's awesome. I think that's kind of neat that, again, we're tying into this being able to have the helmet and not have a helmet. It's really kind of neat. I love that his sleeves are rolled up. And I think Tom pointed out to me that Brickman 117 was able to flip I don't know his suspenders.
Yeah.
Yep, so that looks awesome. So shout out to Brickman for doing that. So that's kind of neat. I haven't tried it personally, but that's just a little detail that I think that's kind of cool, that you can take off his flight gear suit and put the suspenders up. And,
Did you guys notice the tear under his eye because he misses home?
Oh.
Oh.
How big are you? I'm so big.
Oh, jeez. And then we get another chief. So this chief, it has it obviously with all of them. And the cool thing is that we're not just getting the same paint variation chief. This one's got a lot more, I would say. There was a way Gabe put it that sounded so much more articulate, but it just has it has some silver brush highlights on it that really accentuate the armor. So I am very impressed with it. I think obviously the chief and the pilot were a must for this Pelican, especially because so much of the Halo Infinite marketing has kind of centered around the Pelican. It's nice to see the pilot and chief in this set. So I'm looking forward to using them in stop motion, seeing Tom's toy photography really utilize these two, because I think they're going to be a pretty awesome team.
Tom, talk about the chief as compared to the other chiefs, because we have many chiefs in this line.
I'm going to start by apologizing for all of the brick noise, but I have managed to put together a little UNSC barricade using the spare pieces.
Nice.
So
Nice.
Chief in this set is very, very similar to Warthog Rally in terms of color scheme, helmet details, and chest armor details. But the difference, like Matt says, is kind of the silver dry brushing. So there's sort of silver highlighting under the breastplates. There is silver highlighting on the helmet in the middle, and kind of bits across the abdomen, and all of those sort of areas. I think there might even be some brush across the legs. To just kind of make it pop. Yeah. On mine, unfortunately, which is the one that you'll see in the review, the visor wasn't fully painted all the way. But looking at Matt's, it's quite crisp when it's done properly, and it looks very similar again to Warthog Rally, just with the sort of silver little line underneath the chin.
Yeah, I actually thought it was closer to the Chief Brute Warrior 2-pack.
Yeah,
because that one kind of leans a little more with that silver brush. Help me, Gabe. I don't know how to say it. That's that silver highlight area. So I think that's kind of a little more similar to that.
We'll have to do a comparison video of all of the chiefs in this line and pick a favorite. I don't think we can do that right now, but I am enjoying this one. The silver brush, it shows. I mean, if you think about the setting of this set was taken from the trailer, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I mean, and that's what they're going for. So this is kind of beat up Chief. After he's been floating in space, Chief. And so he's not dirty, but he's all dinged up. And it's interesting that, remember, was it between Halo 2 and Halo 3, he got that big scar on his armor?
Yeah.
And a lot of figures, included that sort of thing. We don't have a big scar. And for whatever reason, maybe we'll find out in Infinite, but we do have he just shows a lot of wear and tear from whatever reason he was floating in space.
There is kind of, on quite a few of the Jazzwares figures, and I think some people have pointed it out in the source material, there is actually a black burn mark on the right side of the chest plate where that mark was on the Halo 3 armor. And it's kind of like over the 117 sign. And if you look at the San Diego Comic-Con figure, that's kind of the closest they've come to mimicking that sort of battle damage almost. It's kind of like a soot almost in the sort of the kind of damage it looks like.
Yeah, I got my hands on that one too. It's on his helmet as well.
Yeah. Can I say something about the pilot?
No,
I really
you
like.
May.
Okay, so Matt, thanks. I could honestly gush over the pilot figure because coming into this set I was very apprehensive of it. I think it's fair to say that in the game there's a lot of detail on the pilot's flight suit. There's a UNSC logo on one of his shoulders and some other small details that aren't present on this figure. So if you guys remember when we first previewed it, I was quite cynical about that. And I was quite cynical of the colour blue that they used. But actually in person it works really, really well. And I was surprised to note that there's 2 different colour tones on the pilot's chest armour. So around the collar and also in the middle of the chest in the little triangular piece of armour, there are actually darker tones. And also one thing that I really appreciate is the fact that although he has got a pinhole in his head, they painted the inside of the pinhole the same colour as the hair, so it kind of blends into the hair, which is quite nice. Because I've always been quite sort of against the pinholes because I feel like they ruin the ability to use a figure without their helmet off. But I feel like in this instance, because they've done that, it actually works quite well and it doesn't bother me at all. So I was really happy to get this figure. And I would say that with the suspenders, he still looks pretty good if you remove them all together, because they've used a hip piece that doesn't have the square tab indent. So if you take the suspenders off, the legs just sit flush with the torso and there's no gappage.
Did you guys get yours? Does he just spin around in a circle like his torso? Because you know how most of these will catch, partway through? But mine spins all the way around. Either I haven't pressed it on far enough or what, but
yeah, no, mine's sitting fine.
Yours catches when you when you spin them.
I just did. Mine spins all the way around.
Yours does too. Okay.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's from the rubber piece or what. The suspenders are a little off on mine. I don't know if it's the mold or what, but one suspender hangs down lower than the other. I don't know if that was on purpose or if that's just how the mold works out.
It sounds like one of the pegs might not be lined up, because it's worth noting that this is a COD piece, so it's designed for the Call of Duty line, and they've just brought it over here. And while there are Call of Duty dimensions in the legs now, the torsos are still the Halo torsos, so there might be a slight bit of like, I don't know how to phrase it. Basically, it might be slightly off where the scales are still slightly different, because obviously this has been designed to be used with a COD torso and COD legs. And actually, interestingly enough, when you try and put the suspenders up on a COD torso, sounds like I'm talking about fish. I'm not, guys. It's Call of Duty, I promise. When you try and put the suspenders up on a Call of Duty figure torso, they actually stretch a lot more, and they look like they're not meant to go up like that. So it's an interesting kind of amalgamation of two slightly different scales.
The other thing to note is that his boots don't spin, don't twist, like we've seen in some of the other more non-Spartan figures that we've received. But yeah, I'm happy with him. I like the little. I couldn't figure out for the longest time what was on his helmet. It looked like it was almost a mistake or something like that. But it's his little microphone on his helmet. That's silver coloring. But yeah, overall happy to have him. I really want to know who this guy is. Maybe we'll find out one day, or maybe
Miranda
he'll just
Keyes
forever
and
be
Sergeant Johnson's love child.
Ooh.
Oh
Yes,
boy,
I love that. That's not
Give
even
us
possible.
Miranda.
Any other thoughts on the Hunter before we move on to the big beast, Tom?
Oh no, I was so spaced out then. I was like ready to chat about the Pelican. Yeah, the Hunter. My only thing is obviously Hunters come in pairs. But I'm probably gonna end up buying another Pelican anyway, so it's fine.
yep.
I think most people will, and it's almost like that's one of the main reasons.
Yeah.
to have another set for the alternate build, to just have that available, or just the other pieces.
I
But
just
then,
want two Pelicans.
This Hunter's lonely. He's so lonely. He's pissed off.
Yeah.
He's raging.
Or maybe banished pelicans don't have to be in pairs.
Oh, maybe.
Banished hunters. I don't know why I said banished pelicans. Banished hunters.
Have the brutes taken over this Pelican?
I don't know. Probably.
Well, if you remember, there's because we just played Halo Wars 2. There's Colony involved, and he's like the chief
Maybe
hunter.
this is Colony.
Maybe. I don't think so, but possibly. We'll find out.
Well, that's what I'm going with.
Yeah. Let's talk about the.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Just gonna let that breathe for a little bit.
Oh boy.
All right, let's talk about the build. You start with the cockpit. So really, the build itself is done in, was it 4 different sections?
Yeah.
Where you start with the cockpit itself, and then you move down to the body. You build the body in 2 sections because it opens up, and we'll talk about that feature when we get there. And then lastly, you do the wings and the thrusters in the back. So let's talk about the cockpit. What, Matt, how did you feel about how this thing came together?
This is probably my favorite part of the new Pelican, is just how spacious the cockpit really is.
Yeah.
I love that you're able. Okay, this is the best thing about this Pelican, is that it connects the bay to the cockpit, and you actually don't have a wall there, so you can actually look through the back of the Pelican and see through the cockpit screen, and that's awesome because there's that that part in Halo Reach where Carter is dying and he throws his helmet down, and it's got that kind of angle to it, where you can kind of just see him in the cockpit. So I love that. Mm-hmm. There's a gap between it, and then sides come down on the Pelican. So there's a pretty sizable gap in between the main portion of it and the cockpit. So if you took that piece off, you guys follow me?
Oh,
if you
yeah.
took that piece
on
off,
the side of the canopy?
On the side of the canopy, there's a pretty spacious gap that's just held together, that's just covered up by... I guess like some slanting pieces. Mm-hmm. So I was a little intrigued by that. I actually think it gives it a bulkier shape, which is nice. So it doesn't feel like it's cramming the cockpit. So most of the tilt work of the build is shifted outside, so it's not cramping the cockpit, which gives it this very spacious cockpit. So I'm impressed with it. Lots of curves and angles that I think kind of add to the Pelican look.
Tom, what did you think about the landing gear?
Oh, that was a swerve and a half from what I thought you were going to say. In terms of the landing gear, I was really impressed with how it sits inside the body.
Yeah, me too.
So as they were building it up, I was kind of like, oh my god, is this going to have an impact on the interior? Is the interior of the cockpit going to be really cramped? But it was actually really clever because the whole mechanism for it is underneath the cockpit, and they actually build it up so it's thick enough underneath to store the wheels away without causing any problems.
Yeah.
And I just felt that was so cool.
And you actually cover that compartment up.
Yeah, you do, which is cool. You press, I think it's like 2 4x8 pieces over the top in black. And
2 6x6.
Yeah. And you literally just like slot them across it, don't you?
Yeah, I was so happy when you could cover that part up.
Same. Yeah. I was just like, then this helps to make this look a lot more aesthetically pleasing. I do just want to say off the back of what Matt was saying about it looking a lot bulkier, I've been trying to place where this Pelican sits in Halo for me, because with that bulkier look, it really looks like something to me. And I figured out while you were talking, Matt, that this Pelican looks like it's pulled straight out of the is it the cutscene at the end of Outskirts in Halo 2, where Johnson drops the Pelican in as Chief steps out the Scarab? It looks exactly like how the Pelican looks in that Blur scene.
That's Metropolis. Level.
I know it was one of the two.
Yeah.
It looks exactly like that Pelican at the end there, and yeah,
this is, I would say, peak Halo 2 Pelican. On look, style, especially in the front.
So how does this compare? How does the cockpit front end compare to the gunship? Because we do have a little turret in the front of this thing.
Yeah, well, obviously it's completely different, because the gunship was lights and sounds.
Oh,
so
yeah.
The gunship, the entire front cockpit section is one big piece, and you then put the kind of canopies on and build a little bit of the interior, whereas here it's completely built from the ground up. And I do just want to say, to echo what Matt was saying earlier, this is the part where we all thought there was a lot more space in it than we expected, because it's actually pretty deep, and you kind of get 4 studs across, pretty deep space all the way through to the troop bay, like Matt said. And what that means is you can really get that scene from the newest trailer, or the story demo even, for Infinite, where you kind of have the Chief like walking up behind the pilot and then leaning on the chair and like looking over him, which I thought was really cool. The only thing I'll say in terms of this that was a little bit weird to me is the positioning of the screens. They're like really low down in the little corridor.
Well, keep in mind that Chief is supposed to be like 7 feet tall, so maybe that's part of the consideration. But yeah, it's nice to have those screens in there.
Yeah, it is for sure.
Yeah, that just adds to the overall detail level. But they do some interesting things with the angles that Matt was describing, on how they use hinges and whatnot to give you that feel of a kind of a slowly curved body from the front. What do you think of the canopy, Matt? The actual the little piece that comes down over the pilot.
It's massive. I'm just
it's a new
opening.
piece.
Yeah, brand new. Looks excellent. It's just looking, and I have the OG Pelican here with me, and just comparing the two, it's night and day. The canopy for the original Pelican is so narrow, and like I said, every other Pelican now feels cramped, and this one
in the cockpit, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
From the where they sit, it just feels so cramped. Here, you could actually fit a second chair, Pelican pilot seat behind this one, and it wouldn't even look like you were cramming it in there, and look like you'd have more room to spare. So the canopy, I love that the canopy broadens out in the front. So in the back, it's a little narrower, so it can fit in between the slanting pieces on its sides. And then as you like run your hands, you can feel it kind of come out just a slight bit, so that when you look at it directly, the bulkier part of the bottom fills out where the slanting comes out. I have no idea if you guys followed that, but it looks awesome to me.
So it's interesting because there is room in the NMPD cockpit to fit a second figure. I'm forgetting on the gunship, Tom. Can you put another one in,
you can.
there?
The
Okay.
Yeah, there's
gunship
2 cockpits.
game, it's designed to be like a hind, where it's a pilot and then a gunner behind it.
Okay. It is tight, though, in the NMPD version.
Technically, you can squeeze a second figure into the OG Pelican, technically.
Yeah, they left space for it, but
there's
it's
not
not
a
like
seat?
an official space.
If you put a seat, then you wouldn't be able to fit the figure because the figure would then be too tall.
It's basically like
okay.
a 3-block gap, Colin.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. I tried so many times to modify it just a bit to fit a second seat comfortably in there, but in so doing, you've compromised the integrity of the canopy in the cockpit.
Yeah. I did want to say, I thought it was really cool that while building this, I felt a little bit like Brickman 117, because obviously when he did the Ultimate Pelican, he built the cockpit first. So when I was kind of sat there with just this cockpit sitting in front of me, detached from the rest of the Pelican, I was like, yeah, this feels like a good build.
Nice. Like, I like this. Let's see what I can do with the back of this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of note, before we move on to the next section, you do use some temporary pieces here and there throughout the build, but on this front part, you do use some temporary pieces that are removed. But the set is actually held up by some clear bricks, and you need those for it to actually sit. There's some landing gear, which we'll talk about here in this next section, that I guess in Mega Construx universe should be able to hold the weight of the back of the set, but it can't. It needs those clear temporary pieces underneath it. Well, I guess I haven't tried. I haven't removed them.
I did. That was the first thing that I did because I asked
did?
Brickman about that, and it can support the weight.
Oh,
without
I
a
didn't know
doubt.
that. Okay.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
no, without a doubt. It's I left the clear pieces there just because I don't want to put I don't want to leave the constant strain on it. But it can. So that was super impressive to see that the landing gear actually worked as a landing gear.
Nice. That's good to know. I guess they must have built it that way because let's get into the back end of the ship. So you build it in 2 parts. The left first, the right second. I'm not sure which one was first, but they mirror each other and then they come together because this back end is used as a display. And I'm curious your thoughts how this came together, Tom. When you their approach to building this, I thought was a little unique. It makes sense that you would build one half and then the other half, and you can kind of see, I see they're going to use these, these holes, and then eventually put a rod in to allow it to open up. Talk about this next section.
Yeah, so it's quite cool because, like you say, you basically build the exterior and the interior of both sides. So the way it works, you have the cockpit, and then the cockpit has got some significant sort of bay space behind it that's covered in grates, and those grates are there to create smooth ground that both sides can go over the top of without catching at all. When you build up both sides, you kind of... I think it's at this point that actually you put the landing gears on as well, isn't it, while you're building up the sides?
Yep. Yeah, landing gears are part of this.
Yeah.
And there's a mechanism, which I didn't know was there.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
So I only knew about this because of Brickman's video, actually. But it's like a mechanism that basically spring locks them in place.
Yeah.
So there's 3 different positions that you can hit from the inside, and each one will lock them in place. And I'll be honest with you, when I watched the review originally, I didn't like this at all. I thought it was far too intrusive in the troop bay, and I thought that it ate up a lot of space. But actually, when you get it in hand, it really does sit quite flush with the wall, and there's maybe a stud total extrusion, which isn't awful. So I think it's actually a lot more streamlined in the build than I anticipated. But with that said, the builds are pretty similar, I would say. The only thing that's really different is the interiors. One side's got like a seat and a console that's got a Graphica Chief on, and the other side's got a weapons rack. Like Matt said, it's got the fire extinguisher. There's something else on that side that I'm forgetting. And that's kind of it, really. because obviously the exterior builds are the same. But it's cool. You kind of, as you're putting this together, and I'm going to apologize if I'm rambling because it's getting late here. But as you put it together, it kind of you sort of begin to get this idea that this is a lot bigger than you anticipated. And I remember I sat there, and at that point, so the way my studio works, my gunship is up on the tip top of one of my shelving units, so I can see it wherever I am in my room. And I kind of remember putting one of the back ends on, the left hand side, which is the one that you build first. And then I looked over at the gunship and was like, holy crap, this is already bigger than that, and I've barely even built it yet.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is where you really start to get the idea, actually, this is a step up from the previous Pelicans.
I think it was kind of interesting being able to, traditionally Pelicans, when you build the back, you build it together, but it was kind of neat to build one half and then the other half. And I think this design feature of it being able to split open is probably what will set this Pelican apart from the others to come, before it. So it looks traditionally like a Pelican, but I love this kind of new feature that what if you could just open it up just to really get in there? Because one of my complaints of past Pelicans is you really can't do anything inside of them because it's just, you put your hand in there and you filled up the whole area.
Mm-hmm.
I think a big thing that I was saying to you guys as well when I built it as well is this really opens up the possibility for using a Pelican for photos, because now you've got something that, yes, it can be the interior of a Pelican, but it could also be the interior of a frigate, it could be the interior of a vulture, and actually like looking at the way that the interior mechanisms are assembled, it would be very easy to pull out things like the chair and put something like a computer console in there. So I think that they kind of present the interior to you as it is in the game. Obviously in the trailer, especially the Discover Hope trailer, it really is meant to mimic that kind of moment where the pilot finds Chief and brings him in. But I feel like you could easily pull it apart and put other features in here. And something I do want to say is actually in the review that you'll hopefully have seen at this point, I do mention the idea of them maybe doing an expansion pack for this set that could change the interior to be a troop bay, but you could do something else with that as well. You could change it and put more cargo in there. So I think there really is a lot of space to play with in this area, which is really cool.
Something to note, though, this new Pelican probably has, when it's not opened, the narrowest bay.
Yeah.
So compared to previous Pelicans, like I said, you could fit your hand. Well, I mean, if you have a pretty small, like I can't fit my hand in any of the original Pelicans, but this one is much narrower, so you wouldn't be able to. It's longer but narrower, so it's definitely giving to that more idea that they want you to open this up.
But that's interesting because the troop bay, like from the outside, the shoulders of this thing are wider than the other Pelicans, so there's more detail in it, and it is it looks like it would have more space from the outside, but the way that it was built, the way that it was designed, it actually is narrower. So if you want to put figures in there when it's closed, you kind of probably just have to drop them in, transport them, and then fish them out with your fingers.
I kind of don't mind that though, because I mean, from like a set piece standpoint, so what I did when I first finished building it, I grabbed a bunch of my Clash on the Ring Marines, and I was like, oh, I want to set it up as if they're piling out the back like the Silent Cartographer. And I think that when you have figures lined up with the side of this thing, it just looks huge, but in the right way. Like, you get the sense that this is this massive transport that could easily be offloading loads of troops. And I think that from a toy photographer's perspective especially, that really excites me, because when we get a weekend of better weather, I'm so excited to take it out and just like simulate some photos of loads of troops disembarking from the back of this thing.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the ramp?
The ramp's just the ramp. I feel like it's a little bit of an afterthought in this set. It's got a weird angle to it.
Yeah,
so
that's what
I'm
I
not
was
sure
thinking.
if that's just to kind of tuck it up there, if they didn't want to add any additional mechanism or a joint there. But Yeah,
Looks kind of
it's
more like a slide. Yeah.
fine. You could probably, if you wanted to do photography, I would probably replace that with something that's that's not quite as steep.
Yeah. More like a Darth Vader ramp.
I was thinking of maybe like connecting it up. So the way I would have done it is use the clip and like, is it bracket or like peg system? Basically the way that like the hatch is attached. I would have maybe done something similar where you can like fold it up and down. But I have done a test and you can't fit a straight ramp that's the same length into that space, so I think it has been done to just fit it into the profile of the build.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think of the I guess you call it the hatch? It opens on the other side of the NMPD Pelican.
Yeah.
So it opens the opposite way. Is it the same for the gunship?
Gunship opens the way the NMPD Pelican does as well.
Okay. What about the dropship?
And the OG Pelican opens up the same way.
As
the Infinite Pelican. So they open up from the back.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So you pull it forward.
Yeah.
This is cool because compared to the original, it's one major hatch. This one actually has a hinge in between. I don't know why that hinge is there, to be honest with you.
It's because there's a little bit of an angle.
I think it is.
Get that.
It is to give it that angle, which is nice.
Yep. That
It's kinda
gentle
neat.
curve from the top. Mm-hmm.
Just so much. Just you see, like stuff like that make it feel like You could probably hear me opening and closing this hatch in the background.
Right.
Just little stuff like that, just to give it that edge, makes it so much nicer.
Yeah, and we didn't mention it. To open it up, you have to. It's a little bit of a process.
Which you can see in our review video.
Yeah, so Tom goes through it. So you have to open up the hatch, and you have to remove a piece in the very back. And then I think there's a couple other steps that you do to crack it open.
You have to open up. You have to take off the two side. I guess I don't want to say engines, but they're like
air intakes.
They're
air
like
intakes,
engine covers, yeah.
Yeah.
And you also have to rotate the wings to like a 90-degree angle.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, speaking of those engine covers, though, that you had to take off, they are awesome, and they definitely have a way better way of making the wing feel more connected to the rest of the build.
Well, you don't have to take them off. You just have to rotate them up.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I've been taking them off this whole time.
Yeah.
No, you just fold them up, and then I found what's
I
really
see.
cool, and it's quite intuitive. If you fold it up, I don't know if you noticed this, Colin, but the little bit that's on the other side of them just automatically folds itself up as well with that motion, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty slick how it does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, then and when you put it back down, you just kind of put it down with your finger. So yeah, they do all that in the for to help it make it shape. Like I said,
It was
the slope of this thing.
You can tell that opening this Pelican up was not an afterthought. This was the idea from the beginning. Was
They built
everything
with the
was
idea of doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts before we move on?
No.
All right, let's go on to the wings.
Yeah.
Matt, take us through these wings. How do they compare to the original?
I want to say, and I think Tom mentioned this earlier, is the wings feel like the closest part in build similarity to the original. There's obviously a lot more angles, and it's a way more polished build. But the overall structural design, very similar to the OG. Obviously, it's much more polished here, but you can tell that they kept and they built off of the elements that worked, which is kind of nice to see. So I wouldn't say too much is different from the wings, other than I love that you have I think you mentioned them earlier, the missile pods. That's really nice to see. And that also kind of reminds me of the Halo 2 Outskirts Metropolis missions, is the Pelicans with these missile pods. You do get some lights, just a lot of nice little details. I'm just going to really quickly flip it over just so I can see the bottom of it. There are just, like I said, a lot more slants, a lot more pieces that just kind of contour to each other. But the build structure is certainly very similar.
Tom, your thoughts?
I think the most innovative part for me here was the way that it uses the ball clip to put the black thruster covers in the front part of the engines.
Yes.
I thought that was a really cool way of like angling something to fit into a very specific slot, which I thought was really nice.
That's probably the major difference.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm trying to like turn and look at them without turning away from my mic, because I know that people have noticed that in the past. But I like how there's like little details like the simulated grey box exhausts on the bottom of the wings as well. Look really cool. And I just like, I know I come back to it, but when I think of this build in my head, I just think of Halo 2, I think of Blur cinematics, and everything about this is so spot on to that. And it's almost mind numbing. I can't quite get my head around how spot on this is to that, if that makes sense. And like even talking about it now and reviewing it and stuff like that, I still look at it and I'm just taken back by how spot on all of these proportions feel to how it looks in game. Especially with the wings. And I think that the main thing for me is kind of how they've got that gradual, it's kind of like an angle, but basically in universe, the wings of the Pelican, it looks very bulky in the middle, the wings are bulky at the start, and then they gradually fade out. And that is spot on here with how it looks, where you've got those big thrusters and it then slowly fades out. I just think it's another example of where they kind of went back to the drawing board and went, okay, how can we get this looking better? And I think the thing that surprises me is the fact that this doesn't use that many specialized pieces. Because when you look at the gunship, all of the vents on that were specialized pieces for it. So the fact that they've managed to make something that feels just as authentic, if not more authentic, using mainly parts from their existing catalogue is really impressive in my opinion.
Well said.
Yeah, I won't go on about the wings anymore. I think they're very well done. The back thrusters feel similar to my NMPD Pelican. Oh, I guess the little mention is that it doesn't have, I'm not going to use the right term, but these little flaps on the wings.
Yeah.
The NMPD has those. I think the original does too.
It does, you're right.
And then also on the back thrusters. So those don't exist on the Pelican Inbound set for whatever reason. I guess I don't know if that they're not in the trailer or they just decided not to add that detail. Not necessary in my mind. It's a cool little feature from the NMPD Pelican and the others, but not present here. But they do rotate fully. The way that they rotate, the same pieces are used, and so they do have. It does have that nice firm clicking sound as you rotate it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so
we
really
do
happy
sound
with
effects now.
really happy with how those came together, and I thought the build was good. It wasn't too tedious. It was interesting, right? As you're, especially the back thrusters, like, oh, I see how they're doing this. Oh, okay, all right, and you kind of twisting the build around and building upside down for a little bit and on the side. So I thought that was cool how it came together, and I like doing that last. How the whole build is front. And then eventually you finally get into the back, and then you're done, and you can finally stare at it in admiration.
One thing I do want to mention that lends itself a little bit more to the idea that they could do an expansion pack for this. This particular Pelican doesn't have the ability to pick up vehicles. Yeah. But they leave that space where the mechanism would be on the model very, very exposed. So there's a couple of sloped pieces that give it the correct look, but there is a substantial amount of space there that you could build your own mechanism in, and I kind of feel like they did that deliberately. I feel like it's a little nod to fans to kind of say, if you wanted to do this, you could do it, because they're looking at where that sort of gappage is left. If you were to put your own mechanism in there, it would be spot on to where those vehicles sit on the actual in-game model, which I thought was really cool.
The Warthog scales a lot better.
Yeah.
Like all of the Warthogs, but the new one I just looked at and it scales a lot better. It doesn't scale terribly against the NMPD one, but it just feels like the dropship is a heftier, vehicle that could actually carry one of these things.
I would say that they probably left the idea of carrying a vehicle off just because of the notion of it splitting apart.
Yeah.
I think that's what they were kind of showing was like, you don't have to, imagine if you had to take every piece off to get it to split apart. I think that's probably what their logic was. But again, like you said, it leaves that space. So you could totally come in and customize this. And with the extra pieces you are given, I'm sure you could find a way to do it.
The thing I thought as well is the mechanism at the back it's used to hold the two ends together is a bar piece. So they didn't just use like a plate or something. It's a
Yeah.
bar. And yes, you can argue that that's easier for us as humans to pick out of it. But also, if I remember correctly, the mechanism that's on the gunship and also the mechanism that was on, I think the NMPD one has it, doesn't it, Colin? It's like a clip-based system.
Yeah.
Where it clips in at one end and then would clip into the Warthog on the other end. So I do wonder if maybe you could quite easily port that over to the end of this model.
Yeah, it might be possible, although because it has this bar that hangs down and then there's a clip that you attach to it. The clip that I have, it doesn't like snap on to the little bar. I don't know if it's because it's an older set, and by the time I got put it together, it just, I don't know, got bigger or something. But anyway, it doesn't work as intended. I think it was supposed to snap on there, but it's loose. So yeah, I was disappointed by that from the NMPD build. But yeah, I think you could easily customize this thing to hang a Pelican, and these are supposed to be, in universe, supposed to hang a Scorpion as well.
Yeah. So you've got more reason to build it now.
Right, exactly. I want to see how that matches up. Did we mention, back to the interior and the fact that you can open it up? Did we mention that you can suspend Chief? That's like that little part that sticks out. And you build that whole thing from the beginning. The cockpit, and you during that part of the build, you actually build the little mechanism that suspends him. And it took me until the two sides from the troop bay came together. It's like, oh, okay, now I know what that thing is. I thought it was like some other fancy thing that they were gonna use, some mechanism that we were gonna get to play with. But no, it's a cool little feature. So again, just highlighting the fact that they were really leaning on that trailer to model this thing after.
Did you even get a box? So you can make the pilot do the thing where he's like standing on it to try and get to the pipes.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I like that. Cool. Well, what else do we have to say about this thing? We've covered a lot. Anything that we missed? I guess I do want to cover frustrations, because we kind of sprinkled them a little bit here and there. So I think the biggest one for me is the size of the troop A is small, and the fact that you don't get it doesn't come with it a way to hang a Warthog on it. The other thing that, Tom, I know you mentioned is that the canopy doesn't go quite all the way down for whatever reason. It tends to kind of pop up a little bit. Any other downsides from in your book, Tom?
I'm gonna flip it with an upside though, quickly. Imagine how good this would look with the Halo 3 weapon pods attached to the end of it, where that gap is. That would work really well.
That's neat.
Yeah, I might try that. Oh my god, put me on the spot here. My brain is not working. No, not really. I mean,
that must mean it's mostly good.
Yeah, I mean, I'll gush about it a little bit when we give our final thoughts, but I feel like the only other real thing that stood out to me was the ramp and that really awkward angle it's at. Because I tried to put so I play with my toys, guys. I'm just gonna say it. And I was messing around with it after I built it. Yeah. And I, again, with those Clash at the Ring Marines, I was trying to get them like loading up. So I put one dude trying to walk up the ramp, and he ended up having to like crawl up it on all fours because it was so steep. So I think that's really my only real problem with it, apart from the cockpit. And like you say, with the troop bay as well. But I think that, in my opinion, if they were to do, say for example, a UNSC building box 2, they could easily make some of the alternate builds in that stuff that goes into the Pelican to change it a little bit if they wanted to. And I'm not saying that it needs to, because I think it's a really solid build as it is, but I think there is the scope there for them to do more with it if they decided they wanted to.
Yeah. Any other downsides, Matt, worth mentioning?
The only thing I would probably address is if you look at the troop bay build, and when the walls open up, it takes a segment of the floor with it, and underneath it is another floor.
Yeah.
With the same grates. In my opinion, it would have been better if they had just removed the parts that went with the wall, so that the floor is the floor. So the second floor would have been the floor. So say you put a figure in this troop bay and you go, oh, I want to open it up. Well, then you have to take that figure out from that floor because it's a floor of the wall.
I see.
And so that's the only thing I would probably say. I mean, yes, the troop bay is narrow, but I've never been able to use the troop bay in any real significant way. So having it open up allows you to use the troop bay for photography or something like that. So I'm not super mad about it, but I would just say maybe you could have lost the float away floor.
That's interesting. Well, why don't we wrap up our thoughts then with anything else that we haven't gushed about over this thing? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, this thing's beautiful. It's the best Pelican, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you could argue because of some of the negatives that we've talked about, you know, there's always going to be a trade-off on sets. So they chose to go this direction where this is more, you know, it's got a lot of playability, but it also doubles as a display piece for many other purposes, and it gives you it enables you to do things that you could never do before with the other three Pelicans. So it sets it apart. It's not just a bigger Pelican; it's a bigger and unique Pelican. Tom, why don't you give us some final thoughts?
Yeah. So what I would like to say, mainly, and I know there'll be people who will say, "Oh, you're only saying this because you got it for free." But I just want to say a massive well done to the designers at Mega, because I know from posts that both Kevin and Mia have made on the forums that this line was really about going back to the drawing board and looking at the sets that they've made before and looking at how they could improve them. And I think that the previous Pelican sets we got were in no way bad, but this really shows a level of commitment to listening to the fans and getting this right that I really appreciate. I mean, things like putting in the new cockpit piece so it feels more accurate than the old one. I know that's a criticism that a few people had of the old Pelicans. Getting a new one here is nice. The fact that they fixed the floppy landing gears and found a way to make it so they locked in place is awesome. Having a wheel that can actually be stowed away is really, really cool. So it really feels like when they talk about going back to the drawing board and finding ways to reimagine sets in ways that do them justice, this is the perfect example of that. And I still cannot get my head around the fact that this looks the way it does. Yeah. It genuinely is one of the few sets I've got in maybe 10 years of collecting at this point, where I genuinely look at it and think, do you know what? I don't actually know if they could do this any better in the future. Like, I genuinely look at this and I can't see the way that they could improve upon it anymore. And I'm sure there are ways, and I'm sure they'll find them, because they always do. But I think for me, this is kind of like, you've taken something and you've made something special here. And I think that a lot of fans will be really happy with the end result that we've got with this set.
Yeah, I think it meets that happy... It meets the happy place of scale that we want out of this, and then also not being overwhelmingly large, right? So it is plenty big, but it also gives you lots of playability, and you can still move it around and play with it outside of it. You know, if it was any bigger, I don't know if I would really want to touch it. I just kind of want to put it up on a shelf and just leave it there. But the fact that the size that it is, it looks like it fits well with the other vehicles and the figures. You know, Mega is not perfectly scaled. We're well aware of that. But this thing is they did a really good job of rethinking, reimagining, like you said, and giving us a lot of features that we wanted. I mean, I just looked at the bottom of my NMPD Pelican. I didn't realize it doesn't have wheels. Like adding that feature, you know, lots of little things like that that they brought into this thing.
I do just want to add off the back of that quickly about scale. I am so grateful that they decided to bite a bullet with this one, because I genuinely feel like 2,000 pieces for £125, that is a ridiculous bargain. And I sat and I was talking to my dad about this, and I was like, I don't understand how they have made the economics for this set work. Like, it should not be that price, but it is. And I really appreciate how they didn't lock this behind a Signature Series set, and how they made it
$15 more.
Yeah.
Right?
And I appreciate how they made it a lot more accessible for a lot more fans, I would say.
I would just like to start off by saying a huge thank you to Mega Construct for this set. I'm so thankful to be able to just build it and experience it. So thank you so much, guys. I got to say, this set balances, like you guys have been saying, this playability and Signature Series kind of model feel. And I know when we had Goodwill Hunter on, he was talking about how Mega always wanted to have a play area in each set. And I think the Pelican was that place that you really wanted to actually make that play area work. And so I think by having this set open up and having it the way it is, it really kind of lends to this. This is a set that you play around, that you play in, and that you play with. And I have to give them a huge props for this tremendous win, because I don't think, like Tom said, there is many more ways to improve this set. So I'm blown away by it.
Just to build off that really quick, man, this thing, we talk about structures, right? In the Mega line. Like, this thing almost doubles as a structure because of the fact that it opens up.
I know. Right? It's amazing. It's I have to make my mock bigger to fit this thing.
Absolutely.
It's a mountain.
It's very good. Yeah, so we're all happy. Of course, huge thanks to Mega Construx for providing these to us so that we could, provide our thoughts and reviews and all that sort of fun stuff. Hopefully you all are able to get your hands on one or two of these things, because that hunter needs a buddy, right?
Or four.
And enjoy these in your display pieces, or just play with them with your kids, or play with them, with yourself. It's a fantastic set. I want to wrap up with what we've covered, because we've covered a lot of this wave so far, and we have what we still haven't touched, just because we haven't had access to it yet. They're still trickling out are the Unsc Spartan armor packs. The UNSC Marine Gear Pack. There's a Mercenary Combat Unit and a UNSC Combat Unit. So those 4 kind of troop builders that have been announced, we haven't found yet. I found the helmet that's out there. By the time you hear this, you hopefully have the helmet as well. I have a blind bag set that we just haven't talked about, because Tom or Matt need to find them as well, so we can have a conversation about those. And then we also want to bring you the alternate builds at some point. Talk about that the 2 and the 2 and 1, how we think they did designing those as well. So
and you'll still get this Brits Force on all the other sets as well.
Right, when you get them eventually, right?
Yeah, I will be gushing about all of them.
Yep. So I won't run down through everything that we've gotten, because there's a lot in this wave. Like, this is a big wave of sets, and we haven't had that in a long time, because we haven't had a game in a long time, and we have to wait a little bit longer. But it's on the horizon. We can see it. We can taste it. It'll be here soon enough. Anything else you guys want to chat about? I did post a community question, so I just want to check to make sure we covered off on that stuff in Discord. So any other thoughts that you want to chat about before we close the show, Matt?
Well, I'll just give a couple quick shout-outs. Thank you, John on the Drift, and your son. You guys are awesome. Tom Bovey, sir, you continue to be awesome. Sacred Icon Halo Boys, you guys are the best. And, of course, Brickman, thank you so much. We've mentioned him quite a bit in the show. He's definitely the best person to talk about when it comes to massive builds such as this. And, of course, Goodwill Hunter. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Gabe, G Custom Creations. I can't forget
Gabe.
that guy.
That guy.
That guy, yeah.
Tom, anything before we close?
Have I forgotten anyone?
Thank you for continuing to support us, because I feel like if it wasn't for everyone listening, then we probably wouldn't have got this set to talk about.
For sure.
So we really appreciate the fact that you will continue to show support. We've just hit 1.5k subs on YouTube, which is incredible considering it was only a couple of hundred a few months ago.
That blows my mind.
So yeah, thank you so much for continuing to support us, and hopefully we'll continue to build this thing into something that all Mega fans can enjoy for many years to come.
That was beautifully put.
Absolutely. I just want to say there's a lot of people out there putting out some good content. So go and support your fellow content creators on the Mega Bloks front, Mega Construx front. There's lots of people putting in good work and enjoying it. And I think a lot of that is a testament to the good work, the absolutely the step up in quality that we've seen over the years. I think if the quality would have gone the other direction, I think people would have fallen off, but it has gotten better and better, and that has enabled a lot of us to appreciate these and create our own content, and build communities and things like that.
And shout out to Mega at the end of the day for continuing to do it, because I think it's fair to say that they've been through some ups and downs, and it would have been easy for them to just throw the towel in and say, do you know what, we've hit a point where this isn't working at the moment, let's just move on to something else. But actually, they've committed to really trying to rebuild this thing and re-engage with people, and I really hope that this big wave that we've got here is just going to be the start of that.
Yep, absolutely. I did get one question that I don't think we covered, and it's a little odd one, but Elson94 on our Discord, he mentions potential of building an owl, which is a little bit smaller than a Pelican. I'm not familiar with this, but it's been mentioned in a couple books, some of the Troy Denning books. So there is a little bit smaller vehicle. Maybe we'll see that in Halo Infinite. An owl. I like the name of that, an owl.
Well, we're seeing the Condor, so anything's possible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it'd be fun to see. I don't think there's been pictures. There's probably been descriptions in the books, but I don't think they have seen any pictures of an owl yet. So that would be a cool thing that they bring forward eventually. That would be fun to see how that scales against this thing. All right. Well, that will do it for the show. Thanks for joining Builds with Blocks. If you like the show and want to support us, please check out Podcast Evolved on Patreon. Until next time, evolved.
Evolved.
Evolved!
Well, I'll say the reason why Chief is floating in space is because 343, Guilty Spark, pushes him out of a ship as he's saying, "Danger, danger, Master Chief," and that's why Chief is lost in space.
I like it. Predictions have been made.
Oh boy.